Hey everybody, Dr. Sanderson here. Welcome to Unit 3 of our course, which is the halfway point, so time is definitely going by quick, and I really appreciate the good work that each of you are putting into the course. In this unit, we're going to look at a topic that many of you addressed in the first unit, and that has to do with the way that sports organizations try and govern or manage how athletes and to a smaller extent team employees use social media. And so when you look at one of the implications of social media, one of the biggest changes that it's brought into sports is that teams really and sports organizations like the NFL, the NBA, and so forth, they really don't have as much control over what players say publicly like they used to. So, for example, they could talk to the beat reporter and say, "Look, don't talk to this guy," or if this guy says this, don't write that, or they could control who they made available to the media. But with social media, any player at any time through their phone or their tablet can put out a statement that can create a public relations issue for an organization, and we've seen multiple cases of that. Um, so there's a lot of professional athletes who have been fined for things that they've said on social media, and it's interesting when we talk about this topic. We usually talk about Twitter because that's where a lot of these things happen. Although we are seeing now with athletes moving more to visual platforms like Instagram and Snapchat, we're seeing some issues there, and we're seeing teams and sports organizations take action. So some of you may have seen just actually a couple days ago, Isaiah Crowell, who plays for the Browns, apologized for an Instagram post he made that showed, a police officer with his throat slit. It was an image of that in response to, some of the shootings that have been going on in our country, and that became a major news story. And so keep an eye on that. So that was one example of an Instagram post that created an issue. So when you look at some of the things that athletes put out there, I mean, on one hand, it's really great because we're seeing kind of this unfiltered view of the athlete. We're getting to see, kind of how they really feel about things. We're seeing more aspects of their personality, and that's great for us as fans. But on the flip side of that, it makes teams very leery. And athletes do sometimes say things that are controversial that cause, as I said earlier, cause public relations issues for athletes. So you can understand why teams are a bit, why they have a negative view of social media in terms of the way athletes use it and how athletes use it. So in this unit, we're going to really look at kind of the restriction of student athletes. So we're going to be primarily focused on college athletics and policies and restrictions that student athletes have about using social media. And that's because generally they're the ones that have the most, they're the ones governed most by policy. In professional sports, there's policies in terms of when athletes can not use social media, which is, like about half hour, 45 minutes before a game, through the game, and then through the end of post game interviews. But we really don't see any content type restriction policies or things like that, primarily because those would have to be collectively bargained most likely. So that's why we're gonna kind of look at the college athletics in this unit. Um, and as one of your assignments, which is not due until next the unit 4, you're going to actually be writing a social media policy for a collegiate athletic department. So, or for a team in an intercollegiate athletic department. So, there's some resources that I'll link to in the course announcements that will you'll be able to look at sample social media policies, and then you'll write a policy which should be about a page, maybe page and a half at most, and in the assignment instructions. It'll give you a list of things that you need to include in the policy, which will help you write it. So, but definitely reach out to me if you have any questions about that. But that won't actually be due until next Tuesday, which is July 26th. And then you have a discussion forum question that asks you to look at your views on restricting student athletes from using social media, which is something that the university I was at previously, Clemson, their football program, that was a restriction that the football program had and continues to have. So I'm curious in your thoughts and your views on restricting athletes from student athletes from using social media, because we are starting to see more written about that, especially in terms of does it violate the First Amendment. and there are multiple views and perspectives on that about whether it actually does or not. So again, I'll be interested in some of your comments there. Same timelines. Your initial post is due Saturday, and then your 2 response posts are due Tuesday by 11:59 p.m. So looking forward to your thoughts and your comments on this topic, and definitely please let me know if you have any questions, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.